What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of We Like Cars. Today, we have for you a 2013 Mazda CX-5. It's a really nice compact SUV, so let's go ahead and get into the review.
So this is definitely on my top 3 lists for SUVs I would consider purchasing. The Mazda CX-5 is awesome. It's really compact. It doesn't have a third row of seats, but it's got plenty of space to get my junk in there. For those of you who don't know, and this is a little fun fact, me and Jay actually play guitars, so it'll be really good for our guitars and amps and other equipment we might need to rock out. And this SUV, it's not bad. It's not like super luxurious like an Audi or a high-end BMW, but it looks just right. The infotainment system is bright and very responsive and intuitive. So I love the technology Mazda has put inside this vehicle. It's very user-friendly. And another thing I cannot get over with this vehicle, it's so good. The Sky Active technology. You don't lose out on performance, but you get higher performance numbers such as the horsepower and torque usually in most cases, and you get better fuel economy. I think Mazda really has aimed for the better fuel economy because you get 26 miles to the gallon in the city for an SUV and 35 miles to the gallon on the highway. That's insane, bro.
Yeah, like I mean, it's definitely surprising that an SUV of this kind of size, I guess you could say, caliber, can offer you that kind of miles, those kind of miles per gallon. I will say though, while the Sky Active technology isn't compromising on the power, I feel like part of the reason that's the case is because there's not a lot of power to begin with. So there's not a lot to have to compromise on. I mean, with this particular vehicle, this 2013, we're looking at about 155 horsepower. Of course, you know, engines kind of wax and wane over time, so it's probably a little less. We'll probably say in the 148 range because, you know, as cars age, their engine loses the ability to output as much horsepower. Because it's an SUV, it isn't a bad thing. And let me explain why. When you look at cars for what they are, and you're not trying to cross compare everything to the top of the line, some of the little nitpicky things kind of fade from view. And I think this is one of those situations. No, it's not a super powerful car. Now, if you're going into the mountains or something and you have to climb up a steep hill, you're gonna notice that lack of power. But for the everyday user, the person who maybe wants their dogs in the back, wants to throw a guitar and bass back there, amp or whatever, you aren't going to notice the fact that it's lacking on power. But because we try to do very comprehensive reviews, we did put our foot down in this car, and it did take a second for the engine to wake up and, you know, try to make its way down the highway as fast as it could, and we didn't get very far very quickly. I think it's really a car that's, to me, it kind of exemplifies like the happy medium, where there's not a lot that it does wrong. Even if it doesn't have everything that you may want, there's a lot that it is just good at that is kind of acceptable, where the infotainment system is very robust. You know, we've read through our own research that the navigation system could be better, but it has a navigation system. Granted, we're in 2017, let's be real, you're using your phone. But the fact that it's included in there is a good thing. The fact that the sight line in it is so broad, especially compared to some of the sedans and coupes that we've looked at in the past, is a good thing. The fact that it has so much space is a good thing. There's just not a lot that the car does horribly wrong that you can start knocking points off of it for. Now, if you're trying to get a car with like a ton of personality, if you're trying to get like a Range Rover and dominate the road, this isn't the car for you.
Me being a small guy and more fond of sports cars as well, it's very reassuring to be able to see everywhere in this car. And it's got that factor that nobody will really mess with you on the road, you know, because you've got that size and that height. You know, I would say you're a little bit less accident prone as well once you're going places and whatnot. You just get that sense of security behind it. It's really hard to explain, and especially if you come from a sports car like us, we're enthusiasts, of course. This car is, just like Joey said, this car is definitely not for everyone. It's definitely not for us, but it'll definitely suit the needs of a broad amount of people, whether you've got animals, kids, things to do, and errands to run. This car is definitely the one for you.
One of the many ones for you. Right. It's like a happy secret discovery, because at no point in time have Mazda SUVs ever even been on my radar. You know, if I'm looking for a compact SUV, I'm going to go with some of the more known brands out there, the Explorers, things of that nature. But the CX-5 has definitely put me on notice. So, check it out if you're in the market for a nice compact SUV. It's a great car.
I forgot to mention that the CX-5 comes in front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, which will guarantee that you can drive this in many weather conditions. The model we're reviewing today is the front-wheel drive version. The Mazda CX-5 also comes with a freaking diesel engine trim, and guess what? That absolutely skyrockets its miles per gallon to an insane 63 miles to the gallon! Bro, I don't think you understand how incredible that is. Anyway, let me wrap up this review. This kind of threw your boy off because did you know that the CX-5 is also available in a 6-speed manual? I suppose it makes complete sense with Mazda's racing heritage. I mean, they even have their own racetrack named after them. It's almost like Mazda is trying to tell me something. Other than that, the CX-5 looks great and functions extremely well in virtually every situation. I know we briefly discussed it before, but I wanted to touch on how comfortable the overall ride is. The suspension definitely leans on the squishy and relaxed side rather than the stiff and aggressive side. It literally feels like you're riding on a cloud. Bumps and grooves in the road hardly upset me in the slightest because I didn't realize they were under me. And while we're on the subject of comfort, I would absolutely designate this car as my go-to road trip vehicle. The CX-5 certainly offers a lot in a compact and inexpensive package, but you can clearly see where Mazda has cut some strange corners to keep it at this price point. For example, only the driver's seat has power adjusting controls, while the passenger seat does not. I'm not gonna lie, but this sort of thing bothers me. I guess it's not as bad as the key fob lacking a trunk release or a button you can press to close the trunk. Again, I personally find it odd that a sport utility vehicle, which is literally designed for being practical and loading things, requires you to manually do everything. I suppose these are nitpicky traits which can be overlooked considering that it's a 2013 model, but I don't think something so small should justify it for not being there. Regardless, the Mazda CX-5 will suit most of your needs on a daily basis. This brand also has a reputation of providing strong reliability, if you don't count the RX-8 that is. And Mazda's recent partnership with Toyota will guarantee better reliability for future vehicles to come. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing to the channel. If you have any friends or family on the fence about purchasing a certain vehicle, then please consider sharing our videos. If you'd like us to review your car and you live in the North Atlanta area, feel free to email us or slide into our DMs. You can check the description box for more info.